crazier in that sense.
And this is a good project to spend your time on. I think it's definitely worthwhile. I mean, I think the thing is also, this talk show that you're doing, I think the important thing is you're actually creating a series. You're creating a series of stories where you're talking to individual people, right? So I think that's also a contribution to not just the UI/UC community, but overall in general. I don't know of other campuses where there are like human interest or human story podcasts or talk shows like this. I think
I don't think there are many based on students and like this culture of like being in a university. I think there are more like you can find many other podcasts where like people talking about the most random things, but more intellectual ones too, like Lex Friedman or like Joe Rogan or something, right? But I think ours is unique in a way because we are focused more on the things that concern other people at our age,
right,
and who are looking to get answers to questions that most people don't ask until they're maybe like 60 years, 50 years old, right?
Right.
And I think there's a pattern that we are seeing, especially is a lot of people, at least, are starting to think more deeply about their life and the future. And I think being in a campus like this, where you have access to so many brilliant people who have had so much experience behind them and so many lessons that they've learned.
Yeah.
I think there could be no better way to learn all of these things and to ask no better people to ask these questions to.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important that you ask these questions and for all these stories to come out. That's why, like, if you look at our guest list too, that it's so diverse because we talk to students and professors and they'll have the most diverse background. Like just last week we talked to an architecture professor and we know next to nothing about architecture. And the reason why we chose to, we reached out to him is because we don't know anything about architecture. So why not learn about it? And his experiences, he was from Budapest, Hungary.
Nice.
So that culture and like how he has spent so many years living here and some in Japan and all the things that he learned and understanding his perspective, it just, you gain so much context and so much so many things that you wouldn't usually learn. Like you can take as many courses as you want, but you're still not going to learn the stories that you do by having a conversation.
Right, yeah. And you kind of vicariously live through that person's experiences as you're listening to their story, right? And any of the lessons that they have learned, maybe in a very painful way over like many years and decades, it's like presented to you on a platter. So that's one of the beautiful things about these conversations. Yeah, I'm very glad you're doing this project. This sounds like when you sent me the invite, I looked at the first few videos. I was like, wow, this is really cool project. This sounds very cool. One of the first interviews I saw was one of your recent interviews. Like that's very cool. And I saw a few more. That was very cool. I'm really glad you're doing this. This is a great project. I hope you keep doing this for a while.
I mean, we are doing this for ourselves. We're curious, and even if we didn't have the cameras, we still do it. I mean, so we still have a lot of fun, and we get to talk to people like you. So, what else could you ask for?
If you look at the introduction, like the first video that we have, like an introduction video on our page of like what is the UFC talk show, right?
Yes.
And we talk we had a vision of what we wanted it to be like, and I think it's turning out to be that way too. Like I mentioned that every episode is going to have a story which is unique to the person we're talking to, and it's going to teach you something that you wouldn't have learned otherwise. And I think it's starting to be that way too. Like we have progressively seen a pattern where the most common thing we have heard from our guests is to be more curious. And just that feeling or that, I would say, sentiment of following your curiosity is what got them where they are right now.
Yeah.
So it's a really good learning experience, I would say. And I would say, even though we only have 30 episodes under our belt now, I would say we still learn a lot from that.
Yeah. I mean, 30 episodes is a lot. I mean, that's a pretty sizable number. And I saw the number of views you're getting. You're getting a healthy number of views in your YouTube videos as well. So I think you're getting some visibility and traction. So keep up the good work. I think you're also you'll find that as you're fond already. I'm sure compared to the way you approached your very first interview, compared to your 30th and maybe your 60th interview, you have a very different perspective, right?
Right.
You feel a lot more comfortable for sure, but also you kind of know how to react in a particular interview when, it kind of goes off script. Like, you have some questions prepared, but the interviewee is throwing up some interesting things. How do you pivot? So that's something that I'm sure you've picked up. So part of the learning process as well. It makes you better communicators as well, which will improve you in your future professional lives if you end up doing something which is not a podcast or a talk show. But it'll also help you in your personal lives, right? So you become better communicators that way. And it sharpens your curiosity, which will help you no matter what.
Yeah.
Right? In all situations. Yeah. Thank you for having me. This was fun.